Welcome everyone to the stream. Today is day 2 of becoming a full stack developer in 8 months. I am so glad to be back. Yesterday was amazing and today is going to be even better. We've made some improvements to the stream. Now it's 1080p and I've got the subscriber goal for today at 10 subs and I've got alerts. And I think the audio and the video should be a little bit better. I bumped up the bitrate and so on. So yeah, it's absolutely amazing to be back. Let me open up the chat so I can see what you guys type. Okay. My nose is kind of runny, excuse me. So where are we? Let me close this off. I don't need that. Yes, yesterday we made this. It's cool. Okay, this is my GitHub. Okay, I'm going to start a Pomodoro for 25 minutes. We got a lot of stuff to read through today and a couple of videos to watch, but hopefully today I can be done with the DOM model and we can go on. Right, so we're on the JavaScript dispatch event. And it seems like this is some event that is done programmatically. And you create an event object using the constructor and then trigger it using the dispatch event method. So this is interesting. What do you use it actually for? We'll see. Sorry. Let event new event of type and options. Well, let me grab a napkin real quick. I'll be back. Alright, that's better. I'm back. So you define event with new event with the type and options. So what types of event can there be? Can be a click event, an object, Options. It's an object with two optional properties. Bubbles is a boolean value that determines if the event bubbles or not. If it's true, then the event is bubbled, and vice versa. Cancelable is also a boolean value that specifies whether the event is cancelable when it's true. By default, the options object is bubbles false and cancelable false. So for example, the following creates a new click event with the default options objects. Okay. After creating an event, you can fire it on a target element using the dispatch event method like this. Element.dispatchEvent. For example, the following code shows you how to create the click event and fire it on a button. So you have the button with the quas btn, and in JavaScript you select the button, put it in a variable, add an event listener, Let me see the demo because I don't fully understand why do you need this one. Because honestly I think you can just use that one, isn't it? Why do you need both? In this example, the event handler is executed as if the click event were generated by user actions. Maybe in the beginning when in the beginning where it says mouse click, but I haven't clicked the button. Alright. If the event comes from the user's actions, the event is trusted property is set to true. Is trusted is false. Therefore, you can examine the value and check the authenticity of the event. The mouse event has properties such as where the mouse was via the horizontal and the vertical. No quizzes again, so I'm closing this one out. This was kind of interesting. Custom events. Creating a custom event and dispatching it. Introduction to JavaScript custom events. The following function highlights an element by changing its background color to yellow. No, yeah, right. Custom events. I'm not sure why you see this as an event, it's just a function. Come up with a callback. Maybe I'll read through the callback again just to make sure I know what they're talking about. Callback function, I think, is a function called inside of a function as an argument. The following calls highlight function and adds border to a div element. So what is happening here? We have the JS custom event demo, node, highlight, elem, and callback. And they call it with node, and callback is add border. Which add border I only see here. I don't know, function add border, okay. And as I can see, add border takes in an element, like, does it automatically get it from here? It's kind of strange. Alright. That's a bit interesting. The event type is a string that represents name of the event. The options is an object, has the detail property that contains any custom information about the event. The following example shows how to create a new custom event called highlight. It seems to me like an unnecessary silly way to trigger a function. So what they do here is they got a div with the class of node once again, which is the container for the custom event, and define a function highlight, change the background color. They put the background color in a variable and then change which okay. Create the event, they create a custom event highlight, and dispatch event. The whole dispatch event seems kind of unnecessary to me. Maybe I don't fully get it, but I think it's just a silly way of calling a function. I'll search up YouTube if someone can explain it better, because to me it just seems unnecessarily. It doesn't seem like it's very popular because there are not videos about it. Custom events. What is this? Dispatch event. Maybe I've written it wrong. Dispatch event JavaScript. Alright, there are a couple of videos. Let's see this one. It's 6 years ago. Let's see it.
Hello guys, welcome back. In this JavaScript video tutorial, we are going to learn about how we can create the custom events in the JavaScript and how we can dispatch them. So we will do it all these examples within the 5 minutes. So first of all, just create a button. So we have a button and give an ID to it. Let's say this is the button. Start the script tag. Alright, so now first of all I will show you how we can make a simple event listener, so that after that you can easily understand that what is the custom event and how we can dispatch this. So just create a variable with the button. Oops. Save the button here. So right here, document dot get element by ID and pass the ID here, button. Alright, so now just write here btn dot add event listener and put here click. Add event listener have two parameters. First is what you want to event perform, like click, mouse over, and blur, on focus, etc. And second parameter, what do you want to do work on that, like I want to just do an alert here. So just make a simple alert here. Hello. Simple event listener. Alright, so now just come here. Oops, I have to put here something. Click me and right here. So you can see that we are able to achieve this. Hello. Alright, so this is our simple event listener. So we can see that we listen a click event now.
Okay.
But now I want to make it hello. And how I will listen this? This is the major thing. So for that, you have to do two things. First,
alright, I kind of understand, because I've done a custom data layer before, and the way that there are predefined events for Meta, let's say, or Google, you can make your own custom events and then send them to Meta and Google and for them to interpret it. So right now he's making a custom event that's called hello, so not click or mouse up or mouse down, he's making an event that's called hello. I understand.
Just create a new custom event. For that, let's take a variable event, right here, new event, and pass your custom event name like hello. You have to pass here this. So with that we are able to make a new type of event. So now we have to put one more parameter, is this is bubble 2, and otherwise this will not going to work. The second parameter, this is should be there. By
It's
default, the
interesting
bubble
how
is
sometimes they
false.
put an
Alright.
equals and
Now,
sometimes it's colons.
Document dot dispatch element, dispatch event, and put your event name, which is event, this one. Alright, so now you can remove this because now we are not working with this one, and if you want you can comment it also.
Oh, you can remove the bottom part. Oh, that's interesting.
Now you can see that we are able to listen it on the document load.
Alright.
Because we put here document load. So you can write here little bit smaller, like hello
And can you make it on
event
button
is
click?
dispatched. Alright, and you can remove this one and this one also. On the every load, this is calling here on the document load. So this is the very simple example about the event dispatch and how we can create the custom events. So guys, if you still have any other issue, you can put me in the comment box. Don't forget to subscribe our channel and give a thumbs up to the video. And if you want to find us on the Facebook, the link is given in the description. Thanks guys, thanks for watching this video.
Perfect, thank you. Kind of understood it. Custom events, okay. Let me just skim through the callbacks. I think this for a later point. The document object model. Okay, this is going to be very boring for you guys, I think, since it's just text. And this one as well. Oh my god, do they want me to read through this entire thing? I think I'll have to read through it, but that's like so long. Okay, Yeah, no way I'm reading it out loud. My voice hurts from talking yesterday because usually I don't talk that much, but okay. I'm going to take care of my nose and be right back, guys. Thank you so much. Alright, I'm back, boys. Yeah. So hopefully it's not going to be too boring for you guys, but I have to read through this and I cannot really speak because yesterday I was speaking a lot. We did a 4-hour stream again. Today I plan to do the same, but yesterday my throat started hurting from talking. Like, I don't talk that much in the day. So I'm just going to be reading through this. If you have any questions, let me know in the chat. I'll gladly have a conversation with you. But yeah, I have to read through this whole thing and then through the next and the final one, which seems like the longest. After that I got a couple of articles and so on, but they're short, so I'll put on some music.
Here are 3 reasons why you should use
I'll grab a notebook and write down some of this stuff because I feel it's important. So this right here is a notebook I use for this. I haven't written much, but yeah, this is what I use. So this is kind of interesting to understand, and I'm not sure where this diagram starts. So, for example, the body is a parent node of P. P is sibling to H1 and the other P. I think it starts from the P, so because it's previous sibling and next sibling parent node. The body has child nodes. Body's first child is the H1, last child is P. So relative to which element you're talking about. So if your relative element is P, the other P will be next sibling, but if you're targeting the body, the last child will be the P. So it's all relative, I guess. Alright, that's very interesting. Another complicating factor is that text nodes are created even for the white space between nodes. I think this is kind of like when you start typing and press space, there is actually an invisible character there. I think this is something like that, but let's read through and see. Seems kind of like it. So for example, the sentence I am a cat, it doesn't have just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 elements, but it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 elements if you count the spaces or the white space in this example. This is how I understand it, at least. The Pomodoro is up, but I'll continue reading because I want to be done with this. So when I finish reading it, I'll take a break. Alright, that was interesting. There were a lot of things that I didn't know and a lot of them that I did know, but I think it's a great foundational piece to read once you're starting out. So yeah, that was pretty good. I'm not going to do the exercises because I have a lot to read. So the next one is the handling of events, which I believe is a bit shorter, but nonetheless it's still quite long. And then this one, I don't know how I'm going to read it. It's a whole book, like we'll see if I'm going to read through this whole thing, but I want to keep it moving actually. Maybe I'll skim through it, which will also take a while. But yeah, I have a crash course to watch and so on. Maybe I'll read through this quickly because the Pomodoro already ran out, so I'll read this out loud quickly and then actually it's a set of tutorials, so understanding the DOM introduction, summary. Do you have to go to each one? I believe that's the case. Another ebook. Okay, like the thing is, I think they really want us to understand the DOM and get a good foundational grip on it, because I think it's very important. Right, so I'm going to do that. Is there anything I can read through quickly before I go on to take a break? Not really, I don't think so. Okay, well, I'm going to take a quick break, guys, and I'll be right back. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. 5 minutes break and I'll be back. Alright boys, I'm back for more learning, and next we're on to the handling events from the same ebook. It's quite a long one, so stay tuned. I'm putting it on full screen and we'll go through it. Okay. As I said again, I won't be reading it out loud because my throat hurts from yesterday. Yesterday we did like a 4-hour stream and I was talking the whole time, so my throat kind of hurts now and I want to keep doing this every day. So today I'm going to be reading in my mind, and from tomorrow onwards I'll be reading out loud again. Okay. That is very interesting. This is a primitive drawing application, so every time you click the document it adds a dot under your mouse pointer. We don't have the HTML to go with it, but let me see. The body height is 200 pixels, the background is beige. You have a class of dot with a height of 8 pixels and width of 8 pixels with round corners, and background teal, position absolute. So every time you click, the document creates a new div with the class name of dot, and it positions it wherever on the page you clicked -4 pixels. And document body appends the child dot. So this is indeed very interesting, and I want to try it out. Maybe we can make a new project out of it, because today I haven't committed any code and I want to stick to it and commit code as much as possible. So I'll create a new repository and we'll try out the drawing game. It's not a game, but just a drawing program. Okay. So drawing V1. Thank you for the hearts, really appreciate it. Wow, thank you. So we'll create this repository quickly. Let me open up VS Code. Cd into repos, git clone. Okay, cd into drawing v1 dot. Alright, we'll make a new index. There's HTML. We'll add the boilerplate, and then let's add the script.js and the style.css. Let me add them to the HTML document. Not style.cc but CSS. Okay, that's better. Style.css and then script src script.js. Alright. So I kind of want to, they have the body at 200 pixels, but I want it to be the whole canvas. So I'll do body and then height 100 VH and width 100 viewport width. Then they have the class dot, which will be they had the background color here as teal, I believe, or that was the dot, I don't remember, but I'll make the dot with the background color of black. So it's going to be width, let's say 2 pixels, and height, well, let's make it 4 at least, because at the demo I believe it was 8 pixels and they used 4 pixel border radius. So I'll make it 4 pixels and do the border radius as 2 pixels. So this should make it round. Background cover is black. Alright. Okay, let me start the wife server so we can check this all out. Okay, now in JavaScript we have to make a mouse down event. So they made it for click. So let's make document dot add event listener, and they did it for click, so we'll do the same. Narrow function. What is wrong with that? Not sure. But what they did is let dot equals document create element div, then they let me just check what's wrong with this arrow function. They use event right here. Yeah, we forgot the colon, the comma, and then dot add dot class name. So we add that class to our div. Oh, we also had to make the position absolute, or also this is not going to work. So position absolute, so we can paste it anywhere on the document. And maybe the rest of it I'll have to copy it because I don't remember it off the top of my head. So it's just the position. You do dot style dot left equals event, which is the click dot page x minus 2, I believe. Because this is the border radius pixels, and let's do the same for the top page y style top, and then document dot body dot append child, and we append the dot. Alright, so right now if we click we can put dots anywhere on the screen, which is pretty sick. Now what if we want to use the mouse down? Let's try it this way. Mouse down. Is that how you write it? Cheers. Mouse down. It kind of doesn't work in a loop, so I'm curious how can we make this work. Just spam dots the whole time while our mouse is clicked, so we can actually draw anything, because right now we just place a dot like let me see. Every time the mouse pointer moves, a mouse move event fires. So mouse move. Yeah, this is more like it. Now I'm not holding down the mouse, but it still kind of works. That's sick. You can just refresh it and start a new drawing. I'm not going to draw what you guys think. Right. But yeah, that's pretty sick. I like it a lot. Let me see. Now what I kind of would like to do is, when you click on it, it will start drawing, and when you click again, it will stop. Let me just see what they're saying here. This event can be used to track the position of the mouse, a common situation in which this use is when implementing some form of mouse dragging functionality. So this is a different program than what we have here, and in order to do that, I guess it would be I can certainly make it with, let me commit it first, so we have this git app.git commit. Okay. So we have one commit today at least. A way to do it is, I guess, with a if statement or a callback, but I'm not sure if and we're going to do this later. I have a lot to read and the Pomodoro is already up, so I'm just going to focus on this for the rest of it. We did like a cool little project I'm very happy about, so we'll continue just reading through, and the Pomodoro is up, but I'll continue nonetheless. So reading through this whole document and then I'll take a break. Just a second. Okay. Cool, we're done with the reading. These projects are interesting, honestly, but I want to keep it going and move on to here and the other resources. Now, I believe after I'm done with my break of 5 minutes, I'll be looking through this video because I'm kind of tired of reading, so I'll do a 5-minute break, watch this video, and then I think the Pomodoro will give me a 15-minute break, so after that we can go ahead with the dome enlightenment. So yeah, thanks so much. I'm starting a 5-minute break and I'll be right back. Thank you guys. Alright everyone, I'm back and we're going to watch this Traversy Media JavaScript DOM crash course. I quite like Traversy Media. I've watched a lot of his videos back in the days. It's a 7-year-old one, so it's other there are 4 parts of it. God damn, okay. We'll see if we're going to watch all of them.
Hey, what's going on, guys? So I've been getting a lot of requests after creating my HTML crash course and CSS crash course. People are asking for a JavaScript crash course, but I think a lot of people don't know that I already have one. It's called JavaScript Fundamentals for Beginners. It's not actually called JavaScript Crash Course, but that's what it is. We look at things like creating variables, creating arrays and functions and loops, just the basic language fundamentals. Alright, so if that's what you're looking for, then that's the video to watch, and it's actually in the vanilla JavaScript playlist on my channel. Alright, now what I want to do in this video is go a little deeper than just show you how to create variables and talk about data types and stuff, and show you how to actually work with the DOM, okay? So select items, how to change styles, how to replace content, things that you would do with jQuery. But I want to show you how to do it with vanilla JavaScript, because using jQuery just for DOM manipulation and just like changing a style, adding an event, things like that, is kind of like using a sledgehammer to kill a mosquito. It's just not needed anymore. We have query selector, which is just as good as using jQuery selectors. So that's what we're going to do. We're also going to just take a look at the DOM in general. We're going to look at some of the different properties of the document object, and we're going to do a little exploring. And this is the page we're going to use to do it with. This is just a simple HTML page that I created that includes Bootstrap, has some Bootstrap classes just to make it look good, but it's basically just a header, and then we have a card with a form and then a list group, okay, and we have certain classes and IDs and stuff so that we can select certain elements. Alright, now in the description you'll find a link, and it will include the bare HTML file without any JavaScript, and then as we move along you can code along with me and add the JavaScript. I'll also have the final versions of the code as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started.
On this account I don't have YouTube Premium. Maybe I should
If
switch
you
my
guys really
account,
enjoy my
but we'll see
content,
if
you
it's
feel like
still
you really
going
get
to
something out of it,
switch.
consider becoming a patron to push me to keep bringing high quality educational videos. Showing your support with even $1 means the world. We have different perks and tiers, including a $2 tier that'll give you every Udemy course that I release absolutely free. To learn more, check out patreon.com/traversymedia. Alright, so before we get started, let's talk a little bit about what the DOM actually is. So it stands for Document Object Model, and it's basically a structured representation of your HTML document. Okay, it can be thought of as a tree of nodes for elements created by the browser. JavaScript can be used to manipulate the DOM and its elements. The DOM is object-oriented, meaning that each node has its own properties and methods that we can go and we can change and we can add, we can remove things. So we can manipulate basically everything on the page using JavaScript. Okay, jQuery was used to do this for a long time, but it's becoming more and more popular to use just vanilla JavaScript for this, and that's what we'll be doing. So you may have seen diagrams like this around the web. Now the browser gives us a window object, which represents the browser itself. It's the top level object, and then we have a root element inside the document. Okay, so in the window we have the document object, basically the core of the DOM, and then we have a root element, which is the HTML tag or the HTML element or node, whatever you want to call it. And then inside that we have children like head and body tags, okay, or head and body elements, nodes, and then those have their own children. So we have a title. For inside the head we have titles, we have things like meta tags. In the body we have things like H1s and A tags and all kinds of stuff. And then those tags, those elements, they have text nodes. So for instance, we may have an H1 with the text of my header. That's also considered a node. We also have attributes, okay, connected to elements. For instance, we have an href attribute on an A tag or an A element. So this is the DOM, okay. All of this stuff together, looked at kind of as a tree like this, is the DOM, okay. And we can manipulate this stuff with JavaScript, and that's what we're going to do. All right, so let's go ahead and do it. All right, guys. So on the left here, I have Visual Studio Code open. I'm using Live Server. If you want to use that, you can just click on extensions and search for it and install it, and it'll make it so this auto loads every time you save. If I go ahead and I say item lister 1 and I save, you can see that it'll auto load. All right, so if you're not using an extension like this or Atom Live Server or something like that, then you just have to reload. All right, but let's go over this real quick. So it's just an index.html file. This is going to be included in the description, okay, and a link in the description. And we just have a link to Bootstrap to the CDN to version 4. But this doesn't really matter. I just wanted to use it to kind of give a nice style. Then down here we just have a header. Inside the header we have a container with an H1 with an ID, where you have some Bootstrap classes. Then we have under the header a container. We have a div with the ID of main, class of card, which gives it this border around it. And then we have an H2, a form with one field and a submit button. And then we have an H2 and then a UL with the ID of items and the class of list group. Okay, and each list item has a class of list group item. So that's the DOM. That's the HTML structure that we're going to be working with. We will be adding and removing a couple things, but this is going to be the basic page that we work with. All right, now down here we have a script pointing to a script called dom.js, which is right here, and it's completely empty, and that's what we're going to be working with. All right, now guys, I'm going to be moving a little fast here because this is a crash course, but I'm going to go over the most important things as well as I can. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to have your console open. So you want to either hit F12 or go to your tools. You can go to your developer tools. The console is also available on other browsers, Firefox, Safari, whatever you're using, because we're going to use this for our output for a while. All right, and then once we get into actually changing things in the DOM, we'll be able to change text and styles and all that. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is just kind of examine the document object. Okay, so remember in that diagram I showed you, the document is at the top, and then under that we basically have a tree of elements. So we can actually type in the console here JavaScript. If I were to say alert1, it'll actually execute that JavaScript. In fact, everything that we do in our file here we could do in the console, but I want you guys to have this as a reference. All right, that's why I'm doing it all in the file here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say console.dir, and we're going to pass in the document object. Okay, so what this is going to do is it's going to show us all of the different properties and methods attached to the document object. All right, so you can see we have like the URL we can access. We have document.all, which will give us an array, not an array, but an HTML collection of everything that's inside of that page, that's inside of that document. There's the document.body, which we can access, and all the properties of that. So this is a very large tree of properties and methods. I'm not going to go through all of this stuff, but I do want to show you some of the useful stuff. So let's go over here and just we'll just comment this out, and let's look at some of the stuff that we can access through the document. All right, so let's put a comment up here, and we're just going to say examine. We'll say examine the document object. All right. And you guys can use this stuff from within your scripts. When you create a JavaScript program, you can access this stuff, you can edit it. It's not read-only. If you want to change anything in the document, you can do that. So let's take a look at, let me see. First of all, we'll look at the domain. So we can say console.log. We can say document. We can use our dot syntax, and we can access any of these properties. So you'll see that there is a, where is it? Domain right here, which is going to give you whatever domain name you're running. So we say document.domain and save, you'll see that we get 127.0.0.1, which is just basically my local host. That's the loopback address. All right, we can also access the URL. So we'll say document.url and save, and it gives us basically the entire page and the entire URL. All right, another thing, you know what, I'm just going to copy this because we're going to be doing this quite a bit, this console log document. Another thing we can look at is the title of the page. So we'll say document.title, and we get item lister. Okay, and you'll see the title is item lister. If I were to go and change the title over here to, let's say, item lister 2 and save, now you'll see that that has changed as well. And this stuff is not just read only. We can change it. We could say document.title, and we can actually set that equal to, we'll say 1, 2, 3, and now you can see the title has actually changed. So you can change this stuff from your scripts. All right, so another thing we can look at is, let's look at the doc type. So if we say doc type and save, you'll see that we're using, excuse me, we're using the HTML5 doc type. All right, so we can also look at the, the head and body. So if we say document.head, that'll grab the head element, and we're outputting it to the console, and you can see everything that's in the head. And as you could probably guess, we can also do document.body, which will grab the body for us and output it. All right, so another thing we can do is document.all, So if we do this, what it gives us is an array or an HTML collection of everything that is in the DOM. So if we go over and we look,
Cool. Okay.
let's look at our index.html file. You'll see if we start right here at 0, we have our HTML tag, which is up at the top. Okay, and then the next one in the 1 index is going to be the head, and we have the meta. We have another meta. Okay, and if we open this, we can see all the different properties of each of these elements. Okay, so we can get pretty much anything we want on that element. And if you go down, you'll see the link, okay, title, then we have the body, then we have the first element in the body is the header. You can see it also has the ID and the classes, then we have the container, then we have the title. So we can access any of these, okay, and we can specifically access them by their index. So for instance, the header title, you'll see as I hover over it, it'll highlight it in the browser. Let's say we wanted to grab this, and it has an index of 10. So what we could do is we could say console log document.all, and we could grab the index of 10 and save, and it'll actually give us that H1. All right. Now, again, we can change things based on our selector. Now, this isn't the way that you want to select things. I'm going to show you the specific methods for selecting things, but you could say document.all and then grab the index of 10 and say dot text content equals below and save, and you'll see that it actually changed that in the page. But this is not the way that you want to select things. All right. For one thing, if you add something, this 10 is going to change. If I go and go before that, and let's say we add a span, and we'll just put like a 1 in here or something and save. Now that span is now the 10 index, and that's what's hello. So you don't want to use that method of selecting from the DOM. All right, just to let you know that. And anything you add into your file here, whether it's in the head or body, it's going to get added to document.all. It's going to get added to that collection. All right, so let's see, what are some other things we can look at? Now, let's say you wanted to get all the forms on the page. You could say, let's do console log document.forms and save. And we're looking right here. If we click this arrow, it's basically going to be a collection of all the forms. We only have one, so we have in the 0 index. Okay, these always start at 0, just like a regular array.
I wonder if there is a difference between a collection and an array. A collection is not an array. Collection versus array. Let me look at this one. Oh, but that's in Waterville. A collection is an object, I believe, and it has different functions than arrays. Arrays are faster to access. But I don't know if that's the case in JavaScript, because that article was about Laravel, but let's see what I did. Yeah, we'll know in the future, I guess.
And then we have our form, and you can get all the different properties of the form. All right, now you can do the same thing with like links. So if you wanted to get all the links on your page, you could say document.links. We don't have any, so we just have an empty array. I say array, but it's actually an HTML collection, and there is a difference. There are things like let's say you wanted to use .reverse, which is an array method in JavaScript. You couldn't do that. You'd have to first change it into an array. Okay, but you can select items like it's an array. Now, if you wanted to select a certain item, like in our form, we have our 0 index, we could say forms 0, like that, and it'll give us that actual form. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to just comment all this stuff out so that this doesn't get too confusing. So what else? In addition to links, we could do images. So we can say document.images, and you can get those. We don't have any, so we're going to get an empty collection. What else? I think that's it. I mean, that's not it. Definitely, there's more to it. You saw when we did console dir document, there's a lot of different properties, but I'm not going to go through them all because we'll be here all day. But those are some of the interesting ones. So what about selectors? Okay, so basically, we have a few different selecting methods we can use to query the DOM. So the first one we're going to look at is get element by ID, which I'm sure you've heard of. So what we're going to do here is let's console.log, and let's take a look at our DOM, or our structure here. And we have an H1 with the ID of header title. So what we'll do is we'll say document dot get element by ID, and we know that it has an ID of header title. Was it header title? Or no, header dash title. Okay, so if we save that, you'll see that it'll actually pull it from the DOM, and we're just logging it. We can also put it inside of a variable. So if I copy this and we say, I'm just going to use ES5 syntax. So we'll say var, and we'll call this header title equals, and then we'll paste that in and save. And actually, let's log it. So header title, save, and you'll see we get the same thing. Now we can do certain things with this header. So we can change the text. So there's certain methods we can use, such as text content. And we'll just set that to hello, save, and that'll change it. Okay, in addition to text content, we also have inner text, which for the most part does the same thing. Let's set this to goodbye and save, and you'll see it change because we basically just overwrote it. We overwrote this with this. Now the difference, or one of the differences between inner text and text content, is one of them pays attention to the styling. So let me show you what I mean. So if we go into our H1 here and we put in a span, and we'll just say I don't know, 1 2 3, and we'll save. Actually, this is going to overwrite that, so let's just comment those out. But we get item lister 1 2 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and console log header title dot text content. All right, so we get item lister 1 2 3. Now if I go to this span and I add a style to it of display none, okay, in the page here, it's going to disappear. It's going to go away. Now text content is still showing the 1 2 3. It's disregarding that span. Even though it's set to display none, it still shows it here. But if we were to change this to inner text and save, you'll see that the 1 2 3 is not there. Okay, so it actually pays attention to the styling. So that's one of the biggest differences.
Inner text is quite literally what you see on the page, and text content is more like what is written in the backend, in my understanding.
It's between the two, but you can use them for the most part pretty interchangeably. All right, so that's what text content, inner text. We also have inner HTML, which I'm sure you guys have seen before if you've worked with JavaScript at all. So let's say header title.
I understood that inner HTML shouldn't be used very often because you can inject JavaScript into the HTML. Like if there is an input with inner HTML, or if you dynamically add an input with the inner HTML, then someone, if you don't check it explicitly, can add a script tag and then add JavaScript and inject it into the client's browser. So
we'll say .inner.
So the inner HTML should be used sparingly, in my understanding.
HTML equals, and let's put an H3, and we'll say hello, save. And now we have an H3.
See how he puts the script tag, we can put a, how he puts the H3 tag, we can put the script tag the same way.
Look at it through the inspector, you'll notice that the H3 is actually inside the H1 now. It doesn't change the H1 to an H3. It puts the HTML inside of that DOM element. Okay, so that's what inner HTML does. Now, if you wanted to actually change it, the H1 to an H3, you'd have to use some other methods to access the parent element, and it's a little more advanced, and we'll get to that in a little bit. All right, but just keep in mind these three methods, so text content, inner text, and inner HTML. Now, we can also do style changes. Let's go ahead and save this. All right, so I'm just going to comment this out too. So basically, we just have the header title. So if we wanted to change a style, like let's say header title, and all these, this text content, inner text, the stuff that I'm doing right now, you can use with any selector, not just document dot get element by ID. In fact, maybe I should have done all of the selectors first and then showed you this stuff, but you can use this with any selector. Okay, selecting elements and then using these methods are two different things. So let's say header title, and we'll say dot style. That's how you can change CSS styles. Let's say we want to change the border bottom. All right, now notice that I used camel case here because you can't do border dash bottom. Even though this is the actual CSS property, you
it will be interpreted as border minus bottom, so it will be taken quite literally.
can't do that, so you have to just change it to camel case. All right, so let's say we want it to be solid, 3 pixels, and black, and save. And now you can see that the H1 has the border. Actually, I want to put that border on the header. So what I would do, if I wanted to use get element by ID, we know that the header actually has an ID of main header. So let's grab that instead, or it's main dash header, and then we'll just change this to header and save. And now we have the border on the actual header. All right, so now you should understand get element by ID, text content, inner text, inner HTML, and then changing the styles with style dot whatever the CSS property. All right, so all stuff that used to be used with jQuery but should be used with vanilla JavaScript now. You can see how easy it is. So next thing we're going to do
I don't know who used jQuery for that. Maybe before there wasn't those types of selectors and so on, but yeah, I've never used jQuery.
Look at another selector. I'm going to comment these out too. So we're going to look at getting elements by class name. Okay, so let's say get elements by class name. Now notice that it's elements, plural. So this works a little different. It's not like get element by class, which doesn't actually exist. For that, you would use query selector, but I'll get into that in a minute. So get elements by class name. Let's say we want to get all these list items. Okay, so we know that these list items have a class of list group item. So let's say we'll put it in a variable. Say var items equals, and then we're going to say document dot get. What am I doing? Get elements by class name, and they have the class of list group item. Okay, so if we go ahead and we console.log items, what do we get here? So what it gives us is an HTML collection, okay, just like document.all gives us, and each one has an index. Okay, and you can see if I hover over one, it'll highlight in the browser. So we can access individual elements by saying like items. Let's say we want the second one, we would use 1 because they're 0 based. So we'll save, and you'll see it'll give us the item 2. Okay, that's in the 1 position. So if I wanted to, let's say, change the text of that particular item, I could say items dot, or not items dot, but items 1 dot text content equals, and we'll say hello 2 and save, and now you'll see that it actually says hello 2. If I wanted to change the style, let's say items 1 dot style dot, let's do font weight. Can't do that, we got to use camel case. So font weight, and we'll set that equal to bold and save, and now you can see that we've bolded that second one here. All right, if we wanted to do a background color for it, let's say items 1, and we'll say style dot background color, and we'll set it to, let's say, yellow. Whoop. And there we go. Okay, so you can see we can do a lot of the same stuff that we could do in jQuery. Now, where it gets tricky is if we want to add a style to all of these.
Tell me guys if you have used jQuery before. I'm just curious to know. I've never used it before.
So let's say we want to give them all a light gray background. So if we just say items dot style dot background color and set it to, let's say, light gray and save, that's not going to work. All right, now this isn't going to work because it's an HTML collection, or it's an array. We have to actually loop through it to be able to do this. So what we can do is we can iterate through it with a for loop. So we're going to say for, we'll create a variable called I equals 0, and we're going to say as long as I is less than item.
This tutorial is so old, like it's 7 years old, he still uses var.
Dot length. Okay, dot length is a property. It gets the number of items in that array or collection, and then we just need to increment by 1 each time. And then here what we'll do is we'll say items, and we want to get the current iteration, and then from there we can say dot style dot background color equals our gray color, and save. Oh, we need to actually.
The Pomodoro is up, but I'm going to watch through the video and then take a break.
Comment this out because this is giving an error. Actually, let's put a comment right here, and we'll just say gives error, and save. And now you'll see that each one has a gray background now. All right, so that is get elements by class name. Now we're going to take a look at get elements by tag name. Now this works basically the same way, except instead of getting it by class, you're getting it by tag. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy this whole thing. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to comment it out. Okay, we'll paste it here. Now let's change the variable to li, and what I want to do is say get elements by tag name, and then just pass in here li. So it's going to grab all the li's on the page, and then let's console log li. We can get each li by its index. So let's change this to li. So this should basically do the same exact thing. We're just not using the class, we're using the li. And then down here we can loop through. It works the same way. So li.length, save, let's save it, and it does the same thing. All right. Now if I were to add another list item here, so let's add a list item, and we'll just say item 5 and save. Now, even though I don't have a class of list group item, it still applies because it's an li. It's going by the tag, not by the class. If I were to just do it by the class, like I did up here, then this would have no effect. All right, let me just show you what I mean. So if I comment that out, and we uncomment this and save, you'll see that now that this stuff, nothing's being applied. This gray background and all that is not applying to this because it doesn't have that class. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. All right, so let's get element by tags name. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because it's identical to the class name. Now what I want to do is look at query selector. All right, so this is an important one. So query selector. So for this, this works pretty much just like jQuery. Okay, the only big difference is you use it only for one item. Okay, if you want to use more than one item, then you can use query selector all, which I'm going to go over in a second as well. All right, so and it only grabs the first one. So if we try to grab, let's say, the class of title, and there's more than one title on the page, it's going to grab the first one. So let's go ahead and save this, and let's get rid of that extra li we added. All right, so we'll save that, and we're going to say, let's say var header, and we're going to say document dot query selector. And we can use anything we want in here. So we can use tags. You could grab a list item. You could grab a class. Okay, so you could say dot header. You can use any CSS selector just like you could with jQuery. Okay, so just replace the jQuery money sign like that with document.query selector. So if we want to grab a header, for instance, it has an ID of main header. So make sure you use that hash right there. All right, and then we could say header dot style dot border bottom. We'll set it to solid 4 pixels and gray. Save, and now you can see it has that border. All right, so another thing we could select is, let's grab the input. We haven't done anything with that input form, so let's say var input, and let's set this to document dot query selector, and we want to grab the input, and we'll say input dot value equals hello world, and save. And you can see now we've actually added a value to that input. Now, even though there's 2 inputs on the page, because this button, this is actually an input as well, it only grabbed the first one. Okay, so it's going to grab the first one by default. Now with query selector, we can use any CSS selector. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say var submit, and let's set this to document dot query selector, and instead of just input, let's use the input and then brackets, and we can say the type equals submit. Okay, just like we could do in CSS. This should actually be in quotes though. All right, so if we do that,
I just thought that there would be a really clever way to hijack someone's session if you send him a link so if there is some input field where you can inject JavaScript, you can put in a script tag, so it's in an init HTML input field. You can inject JavaScript and send him a link that basically will put his session, like the session value, into the input field and submit it to whatever you want, and you just get like his session ID in the mail. But yeah, the harder part it will be to make someone click the link, I guess.
and then we say submit.value, and let's see, we'll change it to send and save, and now you can see we've actually changed the button to send.
Sorry for that, this is not my premium account.
All right, so what about these list items? What if we were to say var item and set it to document dot query selector, and we put in here a class of list, what is it, list group item. All right, and then let's say item dot color, not color, item dot style dot color equals red. What happens? It's going to get the first one on the page. All right, now let's say we wanted to get the last one. We could use the CSS last child. Okay, so we'll say var, and let's say last item, which I'll just copy.
Can you use the nth child? Do you guys know if you can use the nth child instead of last child, for example?
Yes. So we'll say last item, and we'll select list group item colon last child.
Probably you
And
can
then
the
let's
same
say
way.
last item dot style dot color equals blue, and save, and you'll see that now the last one is blue. All right, we could also use our nth child. So let's say we want to grab the second
There
one,
you
so
go.
we'll say second item, and we'll change this to, let's say, nth child 2, and then we'll change this to second item, and we'll change it to, let's say, I don't know, coral, and save. Wait a minute, nth, oh, forgot the dash. There we go. So now the second one is coral. Okay, so we can use these CSS pseudo classes.
It's interesting that indexes start from 0, but when it comes to the nth child, it's like it's normally starts from 1.
Or pseudo selectors, whatever they're called. All right, so what about query selector all? Let's take a look at that. So query selector all works similar to like get elements by tag name, get elements by class name. It's going to grab more than one thing. So what I'm going to do here is create a variable. Let's see. I think we have two title classes. Yeah, we have h2 class title and h2 class title here. So let's grab both of those. So we'll say titles equals document dot query selector all, and we want to get, and we can put anything in here, classes, IDs, just tags, anything. So we're going to say class title. All right, and then let's go ahead and console.log titles. All right, I'm just going to comment all this stuff out. Okay, so that gives us what's called a node list, which is similar to a collection, except we can actually run array functions on a node list. So 0 is going to be the first title, which is that add items, and then 1 is the items. And of course, we can access these like this. We can say titles 0 dot text content equals hello, and we'll save, and we'll change it that way. All right. Now, another thing that used to be really hard to do with vanilla JavaScript would be to, let's say, alternate. Let's say we want each other one to be gray, to have a gray background. But we can do that with query selector all. So what we'll do is we'll create a variable called odd, right? We'll
And
set
then
it to
he's going to
document
loop through them, I guess.
query selector all, and we're going to say li, and let's use nth child, and we'll pass in here odd. Okay, now this is a CSS selector. This is a pseudo selector. So we're grabbing all the odd ones. And then what we'll do is we'll loop through.
That is very clever.
We'll use a for loop. And we'll say for var I equals 0, as long as I is less than odd.length. And let's say we just want to increment by 1. And then down here, what we'll do is we'll say odd. We'll take the current iteration, and we'll say dot style dot background color, and we'll set that to light gray, and save. And now every other one is light gray. All right, if we wanted to do even, we could go ahead and set this to even, and then for the selector, we'll just do nth child even, and we'll go ahead and copy that. Let's say even, and we'll change the color, let's say, to a darker gray, and there we go. All right, so we can do things like that in vanilla JavaScript. Pretty damn easy.
Very cool.
All right, guys, so I'm realizing that I still have quite a bit that I want to cover. We went over all of these selectors, so I think that this is going to be a good place to stop for this video, and we're going to have to turn this into a little series, maybe 1 or 2 more videos, because I want to get into traversing the DOM. I want to show you how we can move up, how we can get parent nodes and child nodes, how we can use events. Okay, I want to show you how we can use mouse and keyboard events, things like that, how we can change the DOM with those events. So there's quite a bit more that I want to do, so I'm going to stop the video here, and I will see you in the next part.
Alright, I went through all of them, basically. I feel like I'm already, I already know this stuff, and I'm just going through them again and again. Especially, probably here it will be a lot of the same things. This is very, very long. Like this, I cannot read it on stream. I'll bookmark it and I'll get to it later, but yeah, I don't think I'll be able to go through this whole thing nevertheless on stream. But yeah,
incentive program. They're gonna pay an hourly to streamers just for streaming and
alright, I'm going to go for a 15-minute break because I've been at it for quite a while. So I'll go take a break and be right back with you guys. Alright guys, I think this is the last session I'm going to do, because it's already 8 AM and I have to go to work in a bit. Oh, yeah, everything is okay. What time is it where you live, guys? I'm curious to know. So I'm starting this timer, and what are we going to do? Are we going to watch this part 2, or we're going to read something? I think we're going to watch the part 2, and then probably off stream I'm going to read most of this stuff, because when we finish the DOM manipulation and events, the next lesson is revisiting the rock paper scissors game. I've already made this in the terminal. In the console you can play rock paper scissors with the computer, but we're going to make the UI and it's going to be super sick. And I wondered if I could use 3.js in order to make the rock paper scissors 3D, like have two hands that will battle against each other. But yeah, I don't know, I haven't touched this like ever, but it will be super sick to go. So how do you say it? Just obnoxious and the rock paper scissors project in 3D. But yeah, there's some super cool projects done with this. It's a 3D library, and look, this is in the browser, guys. This is rendering in the browser. It is like you can make whole games with this. It's amazing. And yeah, let me check the documentation. It will be very interesting. But yeah, I don't know, we'll see about that. Right now let's just watch the second video, and we'll probably end the stream after that.
Alright guys, so in the last video we left off after looking at all the different selectors. So we looked at the document.getElementById, get elements by class name, get elements by tag name, query selector, and query selector all. So now we're going to talk about traversing the DOM. So basically kind of moving up and down, looking at parent nodes, child nodes, and siblings. So if we look at the index.html here, when we talk about a parent node, basically what that means is, let's take this h2 for example. So this h2 has a parent of this div right here with the ID of main. This is the h2 parent because it's inside of it. Okay, now this h2 is a child of the div. So that's a child. And then we also have siblings, and this form here is a sibling of the h2 because they're on the same level. Neither one of them are inside of each other, so they're siblings. So I'm going to show you how to query parents and siblings and children and all of that. All right, so let's go back into dom.js. And all this code up here is all the stuff from part 1. So first thing we're going to look at is parent nodes, or parent. We have a couple different methods we're going to use. So I'm going to grab this item list right here, all these list items. So I'm going to create a variable, and I'm going to call it item list. And I'm going to set it to document dot, and I'm going to use query selector, and we'll just grab the ID of items, okay, because it's a UL with the ID of items, and that's what I'm grabbing. So let's take a look at the parent node. Okay, so we're going to use the parent node method, or parent node property. So we're going to console.log, and let's say item list dot parent node. You'll see it actually comes up here. So let's go ahead and save that and see what it gives us. So it gives us the div with the ID of main. So let's take a look at the HTML, and we have our UL with the ID of items. That's what we're selecting. And then the parent node, if we go above, h2 is not the parent node, that's a sibling. The form is a sibling, h2 is a sibling. The div here is actually the parent because it's inside of the div. All right, so that's what it's giving us. Now we can use this as a selector if we wanted to. So if I wanted to grab this and say like, let's say item list.parentNode.style.main, background color equals, and we'll say light gray. All right, so what do you think this is going to change? This is going to change the parent node, which is the div with the ID of main. So let's save, and there we go. So now we have the gray background on the main, the div with the ID of main. And if we look down here in the console, it's logging it, and it now has that background color. Now we can keep going. We can chain these things. So if we want to, let's say, grab this console log, and let's say parent node dot parent node. So what do you think that this is going to give us? We know that the div with the ID of main is the parent node of the items. What's the parent node of the div with the ID of main? So let's check it out, and I think it's going to be the container. So let's see. Let's go ahead and save, and we get the div with the class of container. All right, and we can keep going. We can say what's the parent node of that, and we get the body. Okay, so we can just keep chaining these on. All right, now I'm just going to comment this stuff out. And next thing we're going to look at is parent element. So parent element is basically the same thing. Actually, you know what I'll do is just copy this, because for what we're doing, it is essentially the same thing. So if I were to change element, so we'll say element, parent element. Let's see, we should get the same thing, and save, and we get the same exact thing. We're getting the gray background. We're console logging down here. So parent node and parent element, for the most part, can be used. They can be interchangeable. All right. So what about children? So we're going to look at a property called child nodes. So let's say child nodes, and let's do a console.log. Geez, I can't type. Console.log, and we're going to take that item list, which is the UL, and we're going to say dot child nodes. I cannot type on this keyboard. So let's take a look at what we get here. So what we're getting is a node list, okay? So basically an array. And it's giving us all these different nodes, or all these different items here. We have 0, 1, 2, and notice that this 0 is actually a text node. Okay, so the text node is actually it just represents white space. Okay, so it represents if there's a line break or anything like that. So if we look in our HTML here, this is what it's grabbing. Now it's getting each list item, but it's also getting this text node in between, which is actually the line break. If I were to go ahead and let's just get rid of all line breaks, basically put all these LIs on one line and save, and then take a look. Well, I guess we still have it here and here. So now if I save that, then it doesn't have any text nodes. It's just all the list items. So that is kind of a pain in the ass. So I would not suggest using child nodes. Let me just get this back to where I need it. What I would suggest using is children. Okay, so you have child nodes. You also have a property called children. So let's look at that. So if we say console.log, and we say item list dot children, and save, let's take a look at this, and now it's just the list items. It's just the elements. It's not going to look at the line breaks as text nodes and put that into this collection. All right. Notice it's also an HTML collection. It's no longer a node list. Okay, so there are some differences. Now, if we wanted to access a specific child, like let's say this one right here, which is item 2, has the index of 1. I'm sure you guys, if you guys have been following along, you probably know how we can do that. We can say item list dot children, and we can put it in our brackets, and we'll select the 1 element, and then you'll see it's listing out item 2. Okay, and if we wanted to do something with that, we could take it and let's say dot background color, and we'll set that equal to yellow. Let's see, that didn't work. Oh, I forgot style. And there we go. So we can use that. All right, so we also have a property called first child. So let's say first child, and we're going to console.log the item list, and we're going to call first child. All right, now you probably think you know what this is going to give us. You probably think it's going to give us this item 1, but let's go ahead and save, and it doesn't. It gives us the text node. Okay, just like with the child nodes, this is going to include any white space, any line breaks or anything. If I were to go and get rid of that line break right there, or just that space, and save, then it'll give us the first one. Okay, so to me, first child is kind of useless, at least for what I've used it, what I do. So there's another method called first element child, which is probably what you want to use. So let's let's say first element child, and we're going to just console log the item list dot first element child, and then that will give us the actual li. All right, and we can take that first element child and let's say dot text content, and we'll change that to, let's say, hello 1. Save, and you can see that the first one is now hello 1. And then we also have last child and last element child, which does the same thing. So I'm just going to copy that block, let's comment all this out, and let's change this to last child and last child element, or last element child. So let's first see what last child gives us. We'll go ahead and save that. It gives us that last text node. And let's go ahead and save this. And we just need to change this to last element child. And we'll change this text to, let's say, hello 4. All right, so now you can see that it's logging us the last li, and then it's also changing the text content to hello 4. All right, so first child, last child, first element child, last element child. Next thing we're going to look at is siblings, okay? So up to this point, we've been looking at parents and children. Now let's look at siblings. So let's say we want to get the next sibling. Okay, that's actually a method. So we're going to console.log, and let's grab the item list. And you can test this out on any element you want. I just chose the item list. But let's say next sibling, and save. And again, it's going to give us the text node, okay? So just like with first child, last child, next sibling, we also have next element sibling. So let's say next element sibling. We'll go ahead and change this to next element sibling. And why did that happen? Item list.next element sibling. Oh, does it not have any? Yeah, see, okay, so it's null because it doesn't actually have a next sibling. If I were to put, let's say, a span here, let's save that, and then you can see it's a span, okay? So I just chose something that doesn't actually have a next sibling. All right, let's see, what else are we going to look at? We're also going to look at previous sibling. So we'll go ahead and console.log, and let's say item list dot previous sibling. Let's see what that gives us. Again, it's going to give us the text node, and I'm sure you already guessed that we have previous element sibling as well. Oh. Okay, so that's going to give us the H2 because before the UL, the sibling before it is the H2. And of course, if we wanted to do something with that, we could take it and let's say dot style dot color, and we'll set that to, let's say, green. And there we go. So you can see you can select anything you want and you can do whatever you want with it with JavaScript. You don't need jQuery. I know I sound very anti-jQuery. I just think that, like I said, the analogy that I like is using a sledgehammer to kill a mosquito. You don't need it. It'll work, but you don't need it, and it adds that extra file to your page and just slows you down that much. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of really nice jQuery plugins for things like hardcore animation, like when you scroll down a page and you want certain things to pop out at certain spots. I mean, you can do that kind of stuff in JavaScript, but there are really nice jQuery plugins that will save you a lot of time, and it's a lot less code. So I'm not saying don't use jQuery for anything. I'm just saying for simple DOM manipulation, there's really no need for it. All right, guys, so what I want to do now is I want to get into actually creating DOM elements from JavaScript and inserting them, because right now, up to this point, we've just been selecting them, we've been changing the content and stuff like that, but I want to show you how we can actually create elements and insert them. All right, so we're going to look at, let's see, we're going to look at a method called create element. All right, so let's go ahead and let's create a div. So we'll create a variable, I'll call it new div, not new dick, new div. I don't need a new dick, I don't think. And, and we'll say document dot create element. Should I edit that out? Nah. So create element div, and what we'll do is add a class to that. Actually, let's console log it first. So we'll just say new div, and you can see we just have a single div. So we can take this div and we can do different things with it. Let's say we want to add a class to it. So we'll go ahead and we'll say new div dot, and we'll use class name. Okay, so class name, and we'll just set it to hello. Save, and now we're logging it again, and you can see it has a class of hello. If we wanted to add an ID to it, then we could say, actually let me put a comment here. We'll say add class, then we'll say add ID. So we'll take our new div and we're going to say dot ID equals, and we'll say hello1. Save, and now you can see it has a class of hello and an ID of hello1. Now if we wanted to create another attribute onto it, like let's say a title, let's say add attribute, we can say new div dot set attribute, and it's going to take in one parameter is going to be the actual attribute you want. Let's say we want to add a title, and then the next one will be the value. We'll just say hello div. Let's save, and now you can see it has a title on it. So what if we want to insert something in here? Because right now we just have the div tag. We don't have any content inside of it. So for that, we're going to have to create a text node. So we're going to take, actually we're going to create a new variable here, and we're going to call this new div text, and we're going to set this to document dot create text node. Okay, and then in here we can put whatever we want. Let's just say hello world. All right, so now we have this div text. What we want to do now is append it to our div. All right, so let's say add text to div. So we'll say new div, and we'll say append child, okay, because it's going to be a child of the new div, and we're going to pass in our new div text. All right, so now let's save and console log, and you'll see that now hello world is inside of that div. So we've constructed this all from JavaScript. All right, now what I want to do is I want to insert it into the DOM, because right now it's just existing inside of our JavaScript. It's not actually in the DOM. All right, so what I'm going to do is we need to figure out where we want to put it. So I'm going to say I'm going to grab the header container. If we look at the HTML, inside the header we have the class container, because I want to put it right here. All right, well, right below this div. So let's create a variable, and we'll just call it container. Of course, you could call it anything you want. And we're going to use the document dot query selector. And inside here, we'll say in the header, we want the container class. All right, and then I'm also going to grab the h1, the header h1. So we'll set that to document dot query selector. And let's grab the header h1. All right, and then what we'll do is let's see, we'll take our container, and we're going to say dot insert before. Okay, and that's exactly what it's going to do. It's going to insert before, and it's going to take in two parameters. One is going to be what we're inserting, which is new div, and then one is going to be what we're inserting before, which is going to be the h1. All right, so let's go ahead and save that, and there it is. There's our hello world. If we go ahead and we inspect it, you'll see that it has it has the class, the ID, the title, and it has the text that we constructed in the JavaScript. All right. Whoops, what did I do? So if we wanted to change, let's say we wanted to change the font size, we could simply go in here and say new div dot style dot font size, and we'll set it to, let's say, 30 pixels. Save, and we can treat it just like any other div element. Okay, so it's now part of the DOM. I'm sorry, I said div element, I mean DOM element. All right, so I think I'm going to stop the video here, guys, because in the next video I want to start to get into events. Right now we've just been selecting things from our JavaScript, and we've just been kind of, adding styles and changing text. But I want to add some interactivity, which is something we haven't done yet. So in the next video we're going to get into using events, both click events, keyboard events, and then I think we'll do one more video after that, and we'll turn this into an actual application where we can add items, and we'll add them to the DOM, to the list right here, and then we'll add a delete button. We'll be able to clear them out, so create a little application at the end. I didn't really plan on doing that, but I think that that's a good idea. You guys can let me know what you think.
All right, we already kind of did that yesterday without all the booster courses, but we basically did the same thing, like a shopping list where you can type whatever you want and submit it, and it will be put as a list item. We did it with JavaScript, we added a delete key. So the fourth final video, we already did that yesterday. It's probably, I'm going to watch this one last and then move over with it. And yeah, I'm going to end the stream now because it's 8:30 a.m. and I have work in a bit. Maybe I will read some of this off stream, so tomorrow we can finally move either to this one, which is the drum kit, or revise the rock paper scissors game and make the UI. So yeah, this will be it for today, and tomorrow we'll continue the stream. Thank you so much for everyone that tuned in and supported me. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're not going to stop. This is going to be a daily series and you're going to see the whole process with me. I'm going to take you along on this journey and it's going to be really fun. So appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.